This is Bleak Friday, the game I created for the 7-day roguelike game jam. In case you haven't heard of it, the 7-day roguelike game jam is one of the most long-lasting game jams. Well, it only lasts a week, but it's been going since 2005. Unfortunately, it's not very popular, especially this year since it's been overshadowed by the WoWy jam. Don't worry, 7-day roguelike game jam, I still love you. Since there's no theme or anything, you can pretty much make your game about anything you want as long as it's a roguelike, of course. In fact, you're actually encouraged to come up with your theme before the jam even starts, as long as you don't start working, because that would be cheating, and cheating is wrong. Anyway, I wanted to think of an idea that would be actually fun to make and to play. I tried to come up with ideas by mixing genres like a typing RPG for my game Wordless. I definitely didn't want to create another pretentious ASCII roguelike. Okay, maybe not pretentious, but there are sure a lot of these for a very specific subset of genres. So keeping that in mind, I decided to do the classic indie game thing of mixing a roguelike with another genre. Dead Cells and Spelunky have platforming, Binding of Isaac and Enter the Gungeon have top-down shooters, so I could have, dungeon crawling? Oh wait, that's already the roguelike thing. Okay, maybe I'll just do the other indie thing of taking a game idea and just adding Unity's physics system into it. Because physics make me go yes. With that settled, I wanted to think of another big twist, as if adding Unity's physics wasn't enough of a twist. I thought about what I found most fun in a lot of roguelikes. Well, the main two I've played are NetHack and Spelunky, and pretty much the only fun thing about them was going in and raiding the shops. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but going in and raiding the shops is really fun, you can't argue with that. So I decided to make a whole game based around the idea of shops. And of course I would have to add selling items back to the shop and looting the shop, of course, right? But shops alone can't make up a whole dungeon, it has to have a bunch of floors. And what kind of shop has a bunch of floors? Oh wait. Okay, we've got our setting, but there's no way a bunch of people in a mall would go up and attack you like enemies in a roguelike. There would have to be some sort of apocalypse for that to happen. And, oh wait, I forgot. An apocalypse happens the day after Thanksgiving every year. Black Friday. And who better to be attacking random people in a mall than a Karen? Plus, if you play as a Karen, I can put the female protagonist tag on the game on itch.io. So now that I had an idea, all I had to do was wait until the jam started. And I could actually determine that time, since the 7-day roguelike jam is very lenient in its timing. You have between the 4th and the 16th to plan out a 7-day time slot for making your game. So the first day I was ready to work on the game, I woke up bright and early at noon o'clock. The first thing I had to do that day was figure out an art style for the game. I could either go with simple pixel art like in The Switcher, weird vector art like in Wordless, or a kind of conglomeration MS Paint looking thing like in Colorolock. I figure that having graphics in the first place is basically going to disqualify me from getting any points anyway, so I might as well go for the MS Paint look. After drawing a few frames of animation for the player, I went on to make the movement scripting, and I was on a roll. I was only a few hours in and I already had the player character drawn, animated, and moving around the screen. I should be fine as long as I don't waste 2 days trying to implement a complicated polymorphism system for the item. Oh wait, that's exactly what I did. After wasting a sizable chunk of my time fiddling around with inheritance, I just decided to go the easy route and just use an enumerator to determine the item behaviors. After getting that figured out, it was time to design some of the items. After all, you can't generate shops if you have nothing to put in them. The first items I designed were the sports balls, since they're pretty simple. All you have to do is slap a rigid body on a collider. After designing the first few items, I moved on to shop generation, and that would prove to be a little bit of a challenge. There's no easy way to generate chunks of tile maps on the fly, so what I'd eventually decided to do was just have a handcrafted bunch of shops. I'm formatting the shops as strings made to look like a grid of blocks, sort of like how regular roguelikes look. Then I just drop the strings into Unity where it makes them into tile sets. With the first few shops finished, I went on to creating the game logic for how the mall would be generated. I decided that the goal of the game would be to fill out a shopping list given to the player at the beginning of the run. To do this, I wrote a script which gets one item from one of the shops on each of the floors and puts that in the shopping list. And with that all said and done, I was already finished with the main gameplay loop with only half of my time left. Great. Well, no time to lose. I better go ahead and design the rest of the items. So I had to think of some different things that you might find in a mall that would serve some sort of practical purpose. Everything from baseball bats to a garden hose to a trowel to even a weird magic necklace, which you might not find in a mall, but you definitely find in some sort of scam store. And it's a bit debatable as to whether the necklace itself is a scam, since it's only $13, but it can give you anything from a $10 pretzel to a $60 baseball bat, which is with no doubt the most OP item in the game. But now I've run into a bit of a dilemma. I have a bunch of items which cost a bunch of money, but I don't have any enemies to supply that money to the player, so the next step was to design a few enemies. I started out with the hoodie ghost, inspired by people who pull up their hoodies all the way for, I don't really know why they do that, they just do that for some reason. And then I made the Segway undead person. I guess that would be a Segway zombie, fitting considering what happened to the Segway itself. I tried to give each of the enemies their own unique AI, as unique as it can get for a standard video game enemy at least. But I also did the classic roguelike thing of making it so the enemies can use items just like the player, to mixed results. Since I designed the hoodie ghost when there were only sports items in the game, the hoodie ghost only uses sports items, including the incredibly deadly soccer ball, which it often ends up killing itself with. I wanted to include an evil manager boss that would appear once you got to the very top floor and chase you down like the Wizard of Yendor in NetHack. Or so I've heard happens if you can get so far. But unfortunately I didn't have enough time to be able to do that. So with all the items and enemies in the game, I was ready to add some final polish and finish it all up. One crucial thing I've neglected so far is music and sound effects, which the sound effects thing is pretty typical for me considering my game Breezy didn't have any sound effects at all. But I did want to design some music for the game. I had some pretty interesting ideas. So after designing an emotional title/ending theme, I created a weird kind of corporate music mall theme that sounded bad even to me, so I had to give it a little redesign. Here's the original. And here's the redesign. Then I just added a lazy title screen and an even lazier ending screen, and everything was done. Well, I was pretty much done. I just had to add some sound effects, which turned out to be pretty fun. I did the classic thing of using my mouth to create sounds and then putting them on Audacity and doing weird things with them. It's usually either that or BFXR for me, but this actually turned out pretty fun and easy to do, so I might do it for future games as well. And that was basically the entire process. I built the game, put it on itch, and published it. Hopefully I get a good rating in the game, but if I don't really mind, because it was mostly just fun to make. In the future I may add some multiplayer and some extra items and features, but I definitely like the game how it is right now, and it's one of my most successful jam projects. So if you want to play it, I'll have the link basically everywhere you can put a link. And I don't know, it's pretty hard unless you have a baseball bat, but I'm confident in you. You got this. You are an epic gamer. With that said, don't forget to buy my game Wing It, and have a good day, I guess.